A disaster that shook the world. A day that would be etched in the annals of aviation history as one of its darkest moments. 583 lives lost, a miscommunication that led to chaos, and a tragedy that would change aviation forever. The Tenerife Airport disaster was not just an accident, it was a catastrophic event that highlighted the critical importance of clear communication and the dire consequences of its absence. This was the Tenerife Airport disaster, a series of unfortunate events that spiraled out of control, leading to an unimaginable loss of life. On March 27, 1977, two Boeing 747s, KLM Flight 4805 and Pan Am Flight 1736, collided on the runway at Los Rodeos Airport, now Tenerife North Airport, plunging the world into mourning. The collision occurred in dense fog, with visibility severely limited, making the situation even more perilous. This wasn't just a crash, it was a confluence of unfortunate events, a chain reaction of errors and misjudgments, all culminating in the deadliest aviation accident in history. The investigation revealed a series of miscommunications between the flight crews and air traffic control, compounded by the stress and urgency felt by the pilots. In the fog-laden Canary Islands, a story of miscommunication, impatience, and ultimately, tragedy unfolded. The dense fog that blanketed the airport that day played a significant role in the disaster, obscuring visibility and adding to the confusion. The aftermath of the crash led to significant changes in aviation safety protocols, emphasizing the need for standardized communication procedures and better training for emergency situations. The Tenerife Airport disaster serves as a somber reminder of the fragility of human life and the importance of vigilance and precision in the world of aviation. KLM Flight 4805, originating from Amsterdam, was a charter flight brimming with vacationers eager for the sun-drenched beaches of Gran Canaria. The passengers, a mix of families, couples, and solo travelers, were filled with excitement and anticipation. They had planned their holidays meticulously, dreaming of the warm sands and crystal-clear waters that awaited them. The flight crew, seasoned professionals, were ready to ensure a smooth journey, unaware of the looming danger. Pan Am Flight 1736, a regularly scheduled flight from Los Angeles, was also headed to Gran Canaria, carrying a mix of tourists and returning residents. Among the passengers were families reuniting, business travelers, and individuals seeking a peaceful retreat. The atmosphere on board was one of calm and routine, as the experienced crew went about their duties, ensuring everyone was comfortable for the long journey ahead. Little did they know their paths were about to intersect in the most devastating way imaginable. The skies, usually a symbol of freedom and adventure, were about to become the stage for an unprecedented disaster. The radar screens in control towers began to show the two planes on a collision course, a scenario that would soon turn into a nightmare for all involved. A bomb threat at Gran Canaria Airport set off a chain of events that would seal the fate of both flights. The airport, bustling with activity, was thrown into chaos as security personnel scrambled to address the threat. Passengers were evacuated and flights were delayed, creating a ripple effect that would reach far beyond the airport's confines. The tension was palpable, as everyone hoped for a swift resolution to the crisis. This unexpected disruption forced them to divert to Los Rodeos Airport in Tenerife, a small airport ill-equipped to handle the influx of jumbo jets. The airport, normally quiet and manageable, was suddenly overwhelmed with the arrival of multiple large aircraft. Ground crews worked tirelessly to accommodate the unexpected traffic, while passengers and crew members waited anxiously for updates. The small runway, designed for much smaller planes, now had to bear the weight and size of these massive jets, setting the stage for a series of tragic events that would soon unfold. Los Rodeos, a small regional airport, was overwhelmed by the sudden influx of diverted flights. The runway, shrouded in a thick blanket of fog, was packed with planes, their silhouettes barely visible through the dense air. Tensions were high as pilots and crew navigated the unfamiliar airport and the added pressure of the delays. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation and unease, a palpable sense of urgency mixed with the disorientation of the unexpected diversion. Passengers, oblivious to the unfolding drama, waited impatiently, their holiday cheer slowly giving way to anxiety. Time ticked by and the fog showed no signs of lifting. The pilots, eager to reach their final destination and alleviate the mounting pressure on the crowded tarmac, grew increasingly impatient. Communication became strained as pilots and air traffic control struggled to understand each other. The small airport, ill-equipped for such high volume, added another layer of complexity. The single runway and limited taxiways meant that planes were forced to taxi on the runway itself to reach their takeoff position, further escalating the risks. The fog, thick as a curtain, played a cruel trick of fate, obscuring visibility and amplifying the miscommunication between the KLM and Pan Am crews and the air traffic control tower. This crucial element, the fog, became a catalyst in the disaster, turning a series of unfortunate events into a tragedy of unimaginable proportions. Imagine the scene. Two colossal Boeing 747s, mere silhouettes in the dense fog, their paths converging on a single runway, their fates intertwined. The stage was set for disaster. Section 6. Fatal misinterpretations. In the fog-choked confusion, a series of critical misinterpretations occurred. The KLM crew, believing they had received takeoff clearance, began their takeoff roll, unaware that the Pan Am jet was still on the runway. The Pan Am crew, equally unsure of the KLM's intentions and struggling to find their way in the thick fog, were still on the runway, their massive aircraft a sitting duck in the path of the accelerating KLM jet. Section 7. Collision on the runway. With a deafening roar and a blinding flash, the KLM jet, traveling at high speed, slammed into the Pan Am aircraft. The collision was catastrophic, a nightmare scenario that unfolded in mere seconds. The KLM jet, having misunderstood the clearance from air traffic control, had begun its takeoff roll while the Pan Am aircraft was still taxiing on the same runway. The impact, a horrific collision of metal and flesh, ripped through the Pan Am 747, instantly killing everyone on board. The force of the collision was so immense that it tore apart the fuselage, scattering debris across the runway. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, but there was little they could do to save those trapped inside the burning wreckage. The KLM jet, severely damaged and engulfed in flames, skidded down the runway, a mangled wreck that offered little hope for survival. The fire spread rapidly, fueled by the jet's full load of fuel, creating an inferno that consumed everything in its path. The pilots and crew had no chance to escape, and the passengers were left to face the unimaginable horror of the situation. The world watched in horror as news of the disaster spread. Television screens and newspapers were filled with images of the burning wreckage and the anguished faces of those who had lost loved ones. The scale of the tragedy was almost incomprehensible, and the shockwaves were felt around the globe. People everywhere mourned the loss of so many lives in such a senseless accident. The sheer scale of the tragedy, 583 lives extinguished in an instant, left an indelible mark on the world, forever etching Tenerife into the annals of aviation history. Memorials were erected to honor the victims, and the crash site became a somber reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of safety in aviation. The lessons learned from this disaster led to significant changes in air traffic control procedures and pilot training, ensuring that such a tragedy would never happen again. Section 8. Aftermath and Investigation. The aftermath was a scene of unimaginable devastation. Rescue workers, their faces grim under the weight of the tragedy, toiled tirelessly amidst the wreckage, their hopes of finding survivors dwindling with each passing hour. The investigation that followed was exhaustive, delving into the intricate details of the events leading up to the crash. The findings were stark, revealing a series of errors and miscommunications that, when combined with the fog and the crowded airport conditions, created a perfect storm for disaster. Section 9. Lasting impact, a legacy of safety. The Tenerife Airport Disaster, a tragedy born from miscommunication and misfortune, became a turning point in aviation safety. The disaster forced the aviation industry to confront its vulnerabilities and led to sweeping changes in safety protocols and pilot training. From standardized phraseology and air traffic control communications to an increased emphasis on crew resource management, the legacy of Tenerife lives on, a solemn reminder of the importance of vigilance, communication, and the constant pursuit of safer skies.